gentlemen, boys and girls, and villagers of all ages, welcome to another episode of AV Mount Rushmore. I'm here with John, Johnny Boy Safety, and Owen, Stay Hungry Pluff. What's up, guys?
What's going on?
Yeah, so today we have two very special guests. We're very excited to bring them here. This has been, our agents were working out this deal for a long time to get these two special guests onto the show, and I'm so happy that we were able to work it all out. So here we go. I'm going to introduce them. Our first guest comes all the way from the Rocky Mountains of Norwood, Massachusetts. Most know him as the brother of the famous Zach Kimmett. It's Nicholas of House Kimmett, king of the Andals and the First Men. What's up, Kimmett?
What's up, guys? I'm pumped to be here.
We're so happy to have you, brother.
Our former head male is back.
It's an honor.
Okay, and next up, we have the Red Rocket from the Wild Wild West. Rumor has it that he traveled all the way to the village on a dog sled. His NBA comparison is a mix between Matt Bonner and Manu Ginobili. It's Cade, the Outlaw Scott.
Sir
What's up,
Cade.
guys?
What's up, Cade?
What's up, guys? Hope everyone out there staying safe in quarantine season, all right?
Oh, we're glad to see that you got the mask on. Make sure you're staying safe. Where are you coming from, Cade?
I'm coming at you live from the Antiochian Village headquarters. Check this.
Beautiful. We love to see
Nice.
it.
He doesn't need any virtual background. does
No
he?
virtual
Yeah.
backgrounds needed.
Love
Also,
it.
my computer might not have that capability, but that's for another day. Father Chris, new laptop? Question mark?
New
Just kidding,
laptop?
just kidding.
If he's listening, maybe
Yeah.
we'll get you on.
All right. So thank you guys for being on. And now to get into the format of this week, I haven't explained the topic yet, but this week we have a different episode. Obviously, we have 5 guests. We're each actually going to give our own unique Mount Rushmore. So our own unique top 4 of a different topic. So we decided to go with camp senses. So our sight, smell, taste, touch, and what's the last one? Sound.
Exactly.
So each of us is going to take one of those senses, and we're going to give a Mount Rushmore of that with a camp spin on it, of course.
Absolutely. And for our pick order, we're going to go oldest to youngest. So starting off with our second oldest guest of all time, Mr. Cade Scott, then to Mr. Nick Kimmett, then to me, then to John, then to Alex.
Age before beauty. Age before beauty.
I got that 1 minute up on Alex.
All right. Should we get started?
Let's get
get
started,
into it.
Cade. Let's hear it.
All right. So there's a lot of good camp smells. That's what I'm doing today. I'm breaking down my favorite camp smells. And there's a lot that come to mind. And I'm not going to release all of them right now because I want to keep you guys guessing. I want
Ooh.
wanting more. So for my first camp smell, to me, this is the most iconic camp smell of all time. And that is when it has to be a very specific way that this is done. So if you ever notice when we're not having church, we turn the AC off. We only turn it on right before church starts. So if you walk into the church late at night when no one's in there and it's just sitting still, whether it's on a weekend off or whether you're just going in there for a cabin time, the smell of the church at night in the summertime has a very distinct smell. You can smell that wood coming in there, like get a little bit of the outdoors. Like,
Oh, yeah. The incense, of course.
I'm getting ready to pray. It's like, when you walk into St. Ignatius Chapel in the summertime. So that's my number one camp smell. So
I love that. I love that
Perfect
pick.
choice.
You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with that.
all right, so my number 2 camp smell, this is a little bit different. I'm switching it up, but that is when on a brunch day or on an early morning breakfast, you're walking from the church or your cabin to the dining hall, and there's a really good meal. And there's a couple meals that smell really good outside of the dining hall. French toast sticks and sausage that morning, you can always smell it from a mile. It's a good sign.
You know it's coming.
Other smell that smells very, very good, whether they taste good or not, I don't know, but whether they smell good, the chicken strips and French fries. Lunch always smells good. And then you
Always.
always know when we're eating Arabic food, because when we're eating Arabic food, you can smell it from a mile away. So that's my second camp smell, walking up to the dining hall. I would say my third camp smell, somewhat similar to the church, but a little bit different, and that's the gathering place / old dining hall. That has a little more of a musty camp smell. You can smell the history on those buildings. And you go in there and you're like, yeah, Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it takes you back to 1930. You know, you're
Yeah,
just
100%.
like, this is camp. You know, these new cabins, as you can see in Owen's background, those are like the Taj Mahal of camp buildings. Most camps don't have buildings that nice. But when you go into the gathering place in the ODH, it's like I'm taken back in time. You know, I'm watching The Parent Trap or something. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
Back
You're
to
in a time
and then-
machine.
field days.
my fourth one, there was a few that I tossed over. I thought about the smell of a good AV ball. Or, you know, there's a lot of old basketballs at camp. So when you break open a new basketball, that always smells nice. Avenue Program Shed has some nice smells, but it's kind of similar to the ones I mentioned. The Canoe Pond has some similar smells, but you know what? I'm just going to keep it camp classic. There's nothing like the smell of a good overnight fire. You got your burrito or your pizza that you're making, whatever you're doing, marshmallows. You got the campfire smell just kind of just sitting in your clothes overnight. You know, you walked down there, you were a little bit sweaty, but it cooled off. You know, you're feeling good. Then you got the campfire smell to kind of cover the must of whatever you've been doing earlier on that day. And then you just sleep it, and then the next day you're just smelling campfire. You know, you just gotta embrace it.
Mm-hmm.
Smells good. So those are my 4 camp smells. Walking in the church, the smell of certain meals outside the dining hall, the gathering place / old dining hall, and just a good old-fashioned fire on the overnight.
Yeah,
Love
those
it.
were perfect, Kate. That last one, like, you know, when you get back, ready to take that shower and like the water comes through your hair after the overnight and you just smell like that smoke in you. Like, you know, you earned it. Like, you worked hard to get that back for that shower. And I also love it. You're dead right. When you walk into the gathering place, you can smell the history on that building. Like, that's a building that our parents went to camp in. So great choices, Cade.
And when you're wearing that sweatshirt that you wore on the overnight for the next time, you pick it up and it still smells like the overnight, brings up some memories. You wear that to church, you smell smoky. Oh, there's nothing better.
Oh, absolutely. I'm talking 3 weeks later because you put that thing under your bunk so that the people doing cabin scores wouldn't see it. Then you find it on on a weekend off, and you pull it out and oh
There
man,
it is. Still
I'm back with my
smells-
boys on the overnight. You know
That's
what I
right.
mean?
You're on the overnight.
Oh, that's the best. All right, that's going to be hard to top. And like Kate, I had like a bunch of things that I was trying to pick from. And so I'm doing best camp views, I should start off by saying. But for me, it was a clear-cut number 1. My favorite camp view is the buses that come on session 4 arrival day. And buses come on all the arrival days, but there's something special about the ones at session 4. You know, everybody's hanging out at the lodge. The counselors are going crazy. Campers are reuniting, seeing each other for the first time in years. And then all of a sudden, you hear someone come over the mic that the buses are coming in, and people go nuts. They start flocking all the way over by where the U is. People are running up. They're forming the hand tunnel. And then all of a sudden, you see all those campers start pouring out of the buses. They're hugging each other. They're tackling each other. Then you kind of got to incorporate the luggage in there. The bus driver's telling you luggage, but no one's listening.
Nobody.
So excited. There's nothing like it. Whether you're a camper, whether you're a counselor, there's just like goosebumps when you see that sight. So that was my number 1 for sure. And number 2, a close second, is the camp sunsets. They're iconic. When everybody's over at evening program at night and you're standing over by the pavilion, and all of a sudden over there by the barn, you start to see the sky go to that beautiful purple, pink, orange color. People start whipping out their cameras, taking photos. You got to get that photo right then.
Oh, that's
Everyone's
right. That
Facebook is
photo
filled
out.
with them. You don't lie. And then there's just something nice about being there with everybody, and you see it over in the distance, and it happens almost every night. I mean, it's just automatic, and that's beautiful. My number 3 on my Mount Rushmore is the misty mornings in front of St. Ignatius. And I love
Yes,
it when
sir.
it's so misty that you can't even see the church until you're like halfway there on the
Yeah.
Oh yeah, something different. That's something else.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. And it coats the whole entire soccer fields. And you're walking up to church with your cabin, or if you're coming from the infirmary from med call or in male program staff cabin, it's even better. You just get that full view with the pavilion, the church, and it's beautiful.
That morning dew.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
morning
and
view.
your feet are a little wet, but you're not too upset about it because like you're just looking at that beautiful sight, of course.
Yeah, and you got to make sure you got those Crocs on, because otherwise your feet are going to be soaked during church, and it will be hard not to think about it.
100%.
And then lastly, And this was tough. There was a couple that I was in between. Cade mentioned the campfire. There's nothing like a campfire, but I had to go with my final spot. And it's kind of a secret spot, but the Fireflies behind the conference center. And that's something you only get during a certain time of the camp year. I want to say it's around like second or third session, but whether you're coming back from a night hike or the overnight, or you were just lucky to be on staff and go and drive over one night, it's absolutely beautiful. They light up the sky. Fireflies like you've never seen before. Just crazy amounts of them. And they're flashing on and off, and you can just watch for hours before you know it because they just mesmerize you.
Oh, those are all great, Kim, and I love all those picks, especially because they're all things more or less, I guess, except for Fireflies for me. He's like, I sometimes see things similar to that, like around the year. Like I've seen sunsets, I'll see maybe the mist, I'll see buses, and it always like brings me back to like remembering how different it is at camp. You know, seeing a couple buses drive down the street versus when you're at camp and these like tons of buses come usually from like Michigan or Jersey or even during the other sessions from other places, and all the campers just pile out of them, and it's just extremely euphoric. So I loved all of those picks, Kim.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. These things are only special at camp. Outside of camp, it's ordinary, but at camp, it's just different.
Exactly. It's different.
Camp always hits different.
All right. Now it's my turn.
That's
Right,
right.
see it, Owen.
Yeah. This is going to be a very controversial kind of list, I think. I'm doing Gimme Shop combos for taste.
Nice.
And obviously everyone kind of has like their own like option. Like everyone likes something a little bit different, but I try to go like a little bit more kind of broad and just stuff that a lot of other people like, not just what I like.
Oh, okay. I like this.
However,
you're a man for the people.
Oh, of course, always. However, my number one pick is my go-to order. My number one is a Powerade and an ice cream sandwich. With nothing better on a hot day after playing a bunch of sports than refueling on some ice cold Powerade and cooling off with a nice, easy ice cream sandwich.
Yeah. Oh, you know, I usually go like one cold and one like warm snack. So like I'll have like, I don't know, like Cheez-Its with the cold like drink. But you went cold there. You know, that's an
Always
extra
a cold
hot day.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's bold.
Dude, hey, same right here, Owen. That's
Cold.
I do Coke, Powerade, and then I get one of the strawberry eclairs. You know, I strawberry.
Do you mix the Coke and the Powerade, or do you have two separate?
Absolutely. Hey, we're doing things out here, man. Sometimes you got to go where no man has gone before.
You got to finesse. You got to go through the back door for that.
I don't know if I can get down with half Coke, half Powerade, man.
You can't. It's honestly it's just a mental prism. You just got to break free. Once you try it,
your word on it.
Your world's gonna be changed. But I don't want to take away from Owen.
I will say that one of my good favorites is the half Powerade, half iced tea. It didn't make the list, but that's a solid pick. My number two pick, a Sprite and the watermelon Sour Patch. Hands down, watermelon Sour Patch over any other kind of Sour Patch.
Yeah, didn't that win the poll?
No argument.
We had the March Madness Gimme Shop bracket. I think watermelon Sour Patch might have gone all the way. I think.
If it didn't, it should have. It's a solid pick. Great snack just to kind of not cool off, but like they are still kind of cold.
Oh yeah,
refreshing.
They're hard to kind of chew at first, but like they're so good.
Yeah, I almost like it better like that. Now that it reminds me when I'm at camp, because like nowhere else am I eating Sour Patch out of the fridge.
I agree with that. 100%.
You kind of have to work for it. It's a bit of a prize.
Yes, sir.
My number three pick. I don't know if they still do this, but they definitely did it back when like we started to first go to camp. It's a mix of all the sodas in one.
Oh yeah.
I forget what it was called, but this used to be a thing back when we were campers. So it's very sweet, and I don't know if I can do it now. But as like a 9-year-old kid, I would go for it almost every single day.
Major throwback.
So to pair with that, since that is a little bit sweet, I thought, why don't we go with something a little bit salty? And I know kind of a cult favorite, the white cheddar Cheez-Its.
Ooh, yes.
They're better than regular cheeses.
They really are.
They're good. They're good.
So like that's not something that's super cold compared to the last two picks for snacks, but it's definitely a cult favorite amongst campers. And then for number four, I don't know how you can talk about this this topic and not bring this up as your number 4 pick, but Water Shop. I mean, is there a better game? This is nothing better.
Get out of here, Owen. Get out.
Owen,
He
come
had
on
to-
now. Come on now.
And I just
He
lost
had to
it
do it
all.
like that.
Just lost it all.
Owen, your
Just
list
gotta
was,
make
it wasn't controversial until then.
I knew that's what it was. He had to
You
say.
actually had a
with
very
that
solid
shit.
list. I was like, what's he talking about? It's controversial. And then Water Shop? Come on.
He purposely put it at the end too. He built it up.
Owen.
We're like, all right, this is good. This is good. And then it's all gone.
Owen, I disagree with them. I'm totally with you.
Who's
on
moderating this meeting?
You gotta hydrate. You gotta
Please mute Owen.
stay hydrated.
this.
It's
It is
key.
important.
That's your best list of our past
Thank you.
7 episodes, Owen. Beautiful. All right, we got 2 more left. Sounds, and we got camp feels. I'm going to be doing feels. So first off, with our theme of having some arrival day ones, I got to go with number 1, the arrival day hug. Like, there's no better camp feeling than either as a counselor, as a CIT, as a camper, first-time camper, it's your hike year, it doesn't matter. Like, just seeing, like, I love in the middle of the year just looking back at those photos of, like, you know, the arrival day hugs when you ran up and you hugged your counselor for the first time. Or for me, after being on staff last summer, seeing the pictures of me hugging my campers for the first time, like, arrival day is my favorite day of camp. And there's nothing better to start it off than when you first find out who your counselor is. So you go up, you get your sticker, and, you know, they tell you, the head counselors are telling you not to look down. And then out of nowhere, you see someone pop their head up and come hug you. And there's nothing better. So that's got to be number 1 for me. Number 2, we could go with a few different routes with this one. I'm going with AC, but I had to think about which place I wanted to do it. And I'm thinking of, like, it's Vespers, right? And you're standing right next to it. And, you know, you're kind of wearing, like, your, you know, pants and, like, maybe a long sleeve shirt or whatever. So you're kind of getting a little bit sweaty there, but you're standing right next to it. And right once that AC turns on, like, there's nothing better than, like, being to the leftmost in your cabin in line.
Especially on a hot day after afternoon program, and maybe you went to confession that day, so you didn't even get to go back to the cabin. So you're still kind of like sweaty and gross from afternoon program, and hopefully your counselor or you get a spot right next to the AC, and then your cabin's just chilling for the rest of the day.
Well, and even if you didn't, though, that's the thing, is you might go back to cabin, take your cabin time shower, and then because it's so hot at camp, you know, in the middle of, you know, the summer, obviously, it's so hot that you automatically get out of the shower, you put your clothes on, you probably start sweating a little bit, and then you walk up, you're sweating a little bit, and then you get in. Hopefully you get a spot. You got to church a little bit early, hopefully you got that spot right next to the AC.
And what makes that feeling so nice too is that it's inconsistent. Like, you're not getting that AC spot every single church service. So when you do, it feels so nice.
Oh, that's facts. I didn't even think about that. It's so true.
It's that much sweeter when you get it. Number 3, I had to do this also. Washing hands before meals. How else could we do it in the middle of a pandemic right now where everyone should be washing their hands and staying safe? But obviously, I remember the first time I came to camp when I was 9 years old, and my mom, like, loved the idea of these sinks outside right before you go in, and, like, how you know, clean we are at camp because we don't want to be getting anyone sick. And there's nothing better than when you get in there, the nice hot water. Hopefully you don't burn your hands because that water can get pretty hot sometimes. But everyone's in there, you wash your hands, dry it off, and you're ready for your meal. And then lastly, if you guys have been on a challenge course or if you've done a trust fall cabin time at night, you know about this feeling. But this is when you do the trust fall and you're on the ropes course, and it's that feeling when, like, you lock your hands up like this, and the feeling when you're falling and right before you're about to, like, fall, you feel like you're gonna fall, you get caught by the rest of your brother and sister cabin. So that's another great camp feeling. There's a bunch of other ones I could throw in there as honorable mentions, but those are the 4 that I went with.
That's a great list. I have to say your number 1 pick is probably one of my favorites. Having learned from Nick Nunu, there's a sort of art to a counselor camper hug.
The Nunus give the best hugs.
Rival day. You got to scoop low and come up high. Nice scoop hug.
I have a funny story about that regarding Owen. So Owen's first staff, when I was reading cabin assignments, I first cabin, and this dude literally tackled me. I hope you have perfected the Nick Nunu hug now, Owen, because 18. I mean, you were coming for blood. I felt like I was in the NFL and you were an offensive lineman just coming. Like, do you remember that?
Yeah. Well, so
you
Nick
pile drive me.
I think Nick wasn't there, so I kind of had to fill in.
What?
Well, you filled in quite well last year too, Cade. To your point, last year Owen like picked me up and carried me from one end to the other. So Owen has got the new hug form down, but he put his own little twist on it.
Yeah, we got the new hug, and we got Owen with a little more spice to it.
Don't sleep on a Tadros hug either.
Oh yes, please.
He will literally just hold you up though.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that does it. We got all of you four. You knocked out the first couple senses, so I'm gonna go down. Now I have camp sounds. Oof. Okay, so I think the first one, it's pretty much a no-brainer. Like, even if you're listening to me, what's your favorite camp sound? I know you all have this in your head. Of course, it's sitting or standing in church during one of the services. It could be any of them while everyone is singing. And I guess I'll be a little more specific. If you're standing towards the front, there's something about being with younger kids and younger voices and just hearing their soft, sweet voices when they're singing. I actually have my one memory that I have about, like, specifically was singing the Troparion of Pentecost. And I said that was during session 1, and I was standing right in the front. I had a younger cab in that session. And oh my gosh, like, it sounds like angels are singing. It's such a beautiful sound. There's
Everyone's
really
voices are moving forward to you as well.
Exactly. All the voices are moving forward. The harmonies, I'm not a very good singer, so I can always appreciate the beautiful harmonies. And similar to what we were saying before about things that you can only get at camp, like, we all go to church and throughout the year, but you really don't get that same AV camp service like sound anywhere else. You only get that while you're at the village. So that's definitely my number one easily for the best camp sound. Number 2, sticking with Arrival Day, we of course, all of us love Arrival Day. Arrival Day is like my favorite. The specific sound that I'm referring to, though, is when kind of, if you get there a little early, maybe it's not 1 p.m. just yet when registration starts, but right as the counselors start running out of the lodge, and because everyone's kind of standing there as a camper, maybe you got in line a little early and you're standing and you're waiting, you're like, man, when am I going to get my counselor? When am I going to get my counselor? And finally you hear like that. I can't even describe the noise, but it's the first counselor that runs out of the lodge and jumps onto the rocks. And I can just hear the rocks right now as all the counselors are jumping and running. And then of course they start singing and dancing the song Ride That Pony. And then of course when whoever gets the first camper, they say, for example, Owen Pluff, you have a camper, like that sound. So just that Arrival Day, that kind of like, I don't know, let's call it like a 5-minute span from when the first counselor runs out to when the first camper is called. That's a great sound.
Some nostalgia right there.
Hashtag nostalgia, stay nostalgic.
This is an Arrival Day appreciation pod.
Oh yeah.
we
should have done one by now, man. Arrival Day is the best. Number 3 for camp sounds. This one is also kind of a shout out to session 1 kids. Father Noah this year I think we were in the outdoor chapel. I think this might be something he says frequently, but I remember this is the first time I met him. Shout out to Father Noah Jomo.
He's on my phone screen. I've showed him this as well.
I love it. But he said, listen to the birds. Like, sometimes you just got to stop. Life gets loud. Sometimes it gets crazy. We get distracted from what we're trying to do. Sometimes you just got to stop, close your eyes, and just listen to the birds. So specifically, that's like, and now I guess at camp, usually it is an outdoor chapel when like the service kind of, maybe it stops because there's about to be a sermon. And as everyone's sitting down, so it's super, super quiet. We're waiting for the priest to kind of get ready to give the sermon as he's walking to the front of the altar. So it's kind of really, really silent at that point. And that's the point when you're really just enjoying the nature, and you're really in the woods. You're very close to literally all the trees near like archery. So you're basically in the woods, and you're hearing nature sounds and just sitting back and just listening to the birds. It's beautiful. So now with the last one, rounding out my Mount Rushmore of camp sounds, I'm going to go with, this is also kind of an easy one. You have, like, this list wouldn't be complete without it, is just the craziness of the dining hall, especially if maybe, because sometimes when you walk in, that's kind of when the sound escalates. But if the meal is already going on, maybe you came late, maybe you went to the bathroom, you have to come back in, and kind of like the rise from like, when you walk in from the entrance, there's those 2 doors. So that's kind of like a quiet little chamber. And right as you open the door, the sound just overwhelms you. And there's nothing like it. It's like, people are laughing, they're singing, they're talking, they're having a good time. And maybe they're playing some music, they're banging on the tables. and all those noises compile to just give you that authentic dining hall sound, which you really, once again, cannot get anywhere else. There's nothing like it.
I'm shocked that you didn't put on the phrase "in a minute but not yet." That's like a quintessential camp phrase.
Or
Or yeah.
Anna Zidrescu at Evening Prayer. Those ones are a little shorter. They're not as wholesome. They're just pretty quick. You get it done with, and that's that.
All right, so
Dude,
that's
no love to thunderstorms at camp, man.
I mean, thunderstorms at camp are special too, but you can get them other places. This list is only stuff you really can get at camp, nowhere else.
All right, yeah. So this is
Fair
a good
enough.
segue then. Let's get into our honorable mentions. So Cade, you threw out thunderstorms. Owen, you just threw out one as well. What are some other honorable mentions that you guys have for any of these lists?
I think for me, one that comes into my mind, and Alex kind of touched on it, but there's just nothing like looking at a packed St. Ignatius church. Just like the shape of the building and the fact that you get a full cabin all the way across, all the way from the front to the back. That's a beautiful sight.
It really is. It's perfect. Everyone's like kind of packed in. You're not too tight most of the time. Usually you're pretty comfortable, but just especially if you're in the back or maybe if you're in the front looking to the other side, and it's just a sea of people, and usually they're singing beautifully too.
Yeah. Another one I think of a lot is, Alex and I are from Miami, Florida. Unlike Kay, we don't get to live at camp all year round. So for me, a smell that I always think of is like just smelling that Western Pennsylvania air. Like it's just different, obviously. And like, not if for only people who live in Miami, but if you live in any city or just town that's anywhere across the country, you know what I'm talking about when you finally like get out of the car, when you made it to camp, you're under all the trees or you're near the lodge and you inhale and you smell that Western PA air.
It's that camp air.
Yeah.
All right. So one that I have that kind of goes back to the church, but it's more a specific time at the church. So I think this could go on any list because the church incorporates all of our senses. But this isn't necessarily everyone's favorite church service, but this is my favorite church service. On the last night of camp, when we go back in and we do that supplication service, like late at night to St. Raphael, there is something to be said for going to a church late at night with a bunch of young people just singing to God. Like it's pitch black out, we got the candles going, and we're just singing. It's like if someone at camp like starts singing like a hymn out in the woods on the overnight, then everyone starts singing. There's just something special about that. It's organic, it's cool, and it just makes your faith alive. And you're like, we're doing this thing. This is real. So that's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite moments in St. Ignatius Chapel. Just seeing everybody. It's dark, and we're doing what that's what it's all about. And
that is what it's all about. And the energy is different too, because since it's the last night, everyone's bringing their A game.
It's true. It's true.
I think another one of mine is maybe a little bit more of an opposite of what Cade's was, but mine's could be a rival day liturgy. It's such like a weird feeling, but like a very like excited feeling to be in like that church, like pre-camp, and like whether as a camper where you're just like, oh, I wonder who's going to be my counselor, or as a counselor being like, oh, I wonder who's my camper here.
Yeah,
it's
just one of them standing in the church somewhere.
Yeah, dude.
So is that a feeling, Owen, or a sight, or a smell? What is it?
I'd put that as a feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be
excitement. Yeah, it's a feeling.
Actually, Owen, you stole mine. I wasn't gonna say specifically at church, but the feeling. I guess it's kind of not exactly camp because you're not at camp, but the feeling like when you're driving to camp. Like as you start passing, you start seeing things that you recognize. You see like that statue of the horse. You see, I forget what the other camp is called. I think it's like Camp Ligonier or whatever. And you start passing the things, you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm almost here. Especially if you haven't been to camp in like a full year since the last summer you were there. Just driving up and that feeling you have, almost kind of like butterflies, but like you're also really excited, and that's also a special feeling for sure.
Yeah. And I think my last honorable mention that I can think of right now. John, you hit the top 4, I'd say, for the camp feels, but there's something great about holding a water balloon in your hand with the target in sight when you're at camp, or maybe it's carnival night, you're doing the water balloon toss, and you have to be really gentle with it because you don't want it to pop everywhere. But there's something exhilarating about that feeling
Yeah.
of gripping that
You know,
water.
you just reminded me with carnival night. How can we not mention having a pie
The
and
pie.
putting it in someone's face, right? In your favorite counselor's face, like that's the best feeling, knowing you earned all those tickets with your cabin, and together you guys all pushed that pie.
Yo, as a counselor too, like getting all that stuff out of your hair, that's definitely a smell, and
Oh, it's a horrible smell.
it's awful. It's you know that the counselors love the campers when they let them do that to them.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
And
That's
as a counselor, like you made it.
covered in whipped cream. That will last 10 times longer than any campfire smell on your clothes.
Oh,
Oh my
absolutely.
gosh.
Yeah,
That is
and-
so true.
Just a little tip or a warning, I guess I'll say, for any campers or counselors that get whipped cream on their shirt, do not forget to wash it right away, because I lost a shirt last summer due to some whipped cream induced fungus.
Ew, John. So gross.
Yeah.
It was nasty. And that's a camp smell as well right there.
Are there any camp smells that are not like endearing camp smells outside of the whipped cream? Like, because all of mine were like positive things.
Mildew.
Yeah.
Trying
You
to
bring your
think.
suitcase home and it kind of has like not that nice camp cabin smell,
Oh,
but it's been sitting maybe in
must.
your basement a little bit too long. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself here, but sometimes I don't get to washing it right away and it just builds
No.
up. It's not
yeah, it's when you open your laundry bag after you get home, right before you do your laundry, and like it does smell a little like camp. So you're like, oh, the camp, and then like you smell like all the disgusting clothes. Maybe there's a little hint of like the smokiness from the overnight, but also mostly just like sweaty socks too. That's a camp smell.
I think that's the nail on the head, Alex. It's not necessarily a camp smell, but it's like, like maybe I, have worn a shirt for like 3 days too long and it's just disgusting. And then I don't need to wash it. So I just like toss it in my bag, and then it like permeates like everything. And then you get home and you're like, oh, I should have really washed that sweaty shirt. That was stupid.
Yeah, the one I think of is like laundry day. Like if your laundry
Yeah.
day is like late into the session, it's like your bag is heavy from all the clothes you have, and you just take one little whiff of it. Horrible.
Yeah.
Wait,
And wash your clothes on laundry day, people. Trust me, I've made.
let's also not skip past the thing that Kate just said, where if you wear a shirt 3 days too long, who wears a shirt for 3 days?
Hey, I can't.
It happens, man. I mean, you're staying up. You're doing the checks at midnight. You're waking up at 6:30, a.m. to get on.
Yeah. Kids on that
You know?
admin grind. That
Always
I'm
assistant
in bed.
director.
I'm out of bed. I'm in bed. I'm out of bed. And then all of a sudden, it's a week long, and you're like, what's going on here?
Yeah, and if you got laundry day like a little bit later in the session, maybe like Sunday or Monday, and maybe you didn't pack well enough, you might be forced to be wearing that.
Oh
shirt.
yeah, exactly. You don't always have the decision. You don't always have.
Well, the bookstore does sell shirts. Just as a quick shout out, if you
Shameless
are looking
plug.
for a camp shirt, the bookstore at AV does sell shirts.
And Kate,
And pants.
tell us about the new shirts they got.
Oh, we had the virtual camp shirts, which were pre-orders. We're done with that, but we actually just shipped those out. So hopefully those are going to be getting to people's homes soon. But yeah, no, we still got some ringer tees. We have some alumni shirts. Go check it out on the avcamp.org today. Go to the bookstore, check out a lot of good
I'm gonna have
stuff
to do
there.
some online shopping later.
Do some online shopping. Hey, I'll ship it out right here.
Oh.
Online shopping. We're ready to go. Just make the order.
Okay, well, thank you guys. It was a great episode. I had a lot of fun talking about camp senses with you two. But thank you, Nick. Thank you, Kate, for coming on.
Hey, it's been a blast, guys. I appreciate you guys asking and listening when I've been pestering you for the last couple of weeks about trying to get me on here. So I've had a blast, and I'm so happy to be doing this with my brother, Cade.
As I have been so annoying about being on this, and it's the only time that I don't even care about how annoying I've been about it. You can even talk about it. You can be like, oh man, Kate's been so annoying. I don't care. I legitimately love this podcast, and I look forward to it every week. So this was like the one time where I was going to pull my assistant camp director card and be like, I wasn't going to make you do it, but I was like, let's get on the show.
Yeah, you were persistent.
This show's awesome. Also, get out there and play some angle ball, people. AV ball. There's no off season. Foursquare. This thing can be.
Let's get after it, baby.
All you need is some duct tape.
Really? For how?
Foursquare.
Foursquare in the house.
You're right. Foursquare in the house. Great time to do it too, especially with quarantine. But yeah, thank you guys. We loved having you on. Love the persistence, Kate, as always. Remember, every night during the weekdays, we have evening prayers at 7 p.m. with our head counselors, Eli and Diana. And we're almost, done with virtual camp. We have one more week. So or I guess 1.5. So let's make the most of it. And I know I'm going to be tuning into those evening prayers, because before we know it, we're going to be back to the swing of normal life again, and we won't have it. But once again, thank you guys for coming. Thank you everyone for listening. Have a good one.
Stay hungry.
Stay hungry.